I've soldered the firebox to the footplate, the splashes and so on. You can see there the solder's gone all the way through. There's a little bit of cleaning up necessary there, but all that will take a little bit of time. But at least that's given me a natural datum to fix the smokebox and boiler on. Again, even though there are no holes, tabs and so on, it is beginning to look like it's going to work. Now, what needs doing is this outer wrapper soldering to the brass tube. Now, brass is a very, very good conductor of heat, so I'm going to need a fair bit of solder, a fair bit of heat, and a little bit of time. Make sure that the slot is fully at the bottom. I've cut this slot here to accommodate the motor. Purists may not like that, but I assure you by the time the motor and gearbox are painted, it will be far less visible than at first glance. And obviously that has to go out of sight at the bottom. So let's start by just running some solder along. Perhaps first I should make sure that this is fully in position. Let's push down hard on that so it's absolutely true at the front. It's a nice friction fit. What I'm going to do then is introduce some solder. I've got the iron wound up pretty high because you'll find that the solder will take a few moments. One of the dodges over soldering, far too many people twitch around with solder. They wiggle the iron far too much. Solder, when it's molten, is a fluid and it will obey gravity. It will go into places just by gravity. So if you're particularly precious about your fingers and your hands, you can use a piece of old paper towel just to hold it. That will act as a heat insulator. In fact, that's what I'm going to do now. What I'm going to do now is run solder around the front to make sure that that joint is sound, and also so you don't get two rings. A beach is very useful, by the way, to stop your pristine workbench being scoured and stained and burnt, but again the solder will flow in. This is one time when absolute neatness is not that essential. It's nice to have it, but it will all clean up very, very nicely, as you'll see by the time I get it onto the footplate. But you just carry on, repeat all the way round like that, and then clean it up afterwards. The smokebox wrapper and the cab were made in exactly the same way that the firebox was made. This requires more in the way of what we call hard soldering rather than the white metal soldering, so there's more of a risk in a way of blistering your fingers, but it can be done, and I've already explained how that does take place. One of the next things to do is to show you how beading and strapping is put on. I've put on the one side. This enables the cab to be much more secure. It was formed using the rolling bars and a fair bit of patience. There aren't any guidelines really for doing this, and in some respects it does show slightly the age of this kit. It's over 20 years old. It's very accurate, but more modern etched brass kits do in fact give you guidelines half etched inside, but anyone with perseverance and some effort should be able to make it. The way it's constructed means you have to blank off the front first. That will make fitting the handrail pillars slightly more difficult, but I'll be explaining how that's done slightly later.